Hi, everyone. I'm Howlin Steve Howell. I'm your host here on BurntBossomRecords.com podcast. Yep, we're going to be live on the air right now for now, but we are going to edit it, so don't let me fool you that way. But anyway, we've got a very, very, very special guest in the house. I'm so happy to have him on the show. I'm almost doing flips. It's kind of like when I did the Chris Duarte thing. It's like I thought I was in heaven at that time too. So, hey, heaven's not. It's just a phone call away sometimes. And talking to my brothers out there in music world, we're gonna have us a good time. And I know that he was probably. I'm not sure, but I think he was born in New York, but he lives now in Los Angeles. And he's been on the Los Angeles scene for 3 decades. Man, that's a long time. Not only that, he's got accolades right now of being, yes, he's been invited to be on Tab Benoit, none other than Tab Benoit's Whiskey Bayou Records. And wow, what an honor that is. I followed the life of Tab Benoit for probably, I don't know, close to 35 years, probably close to that, somewhere around in there. Anyway, we're gonna get to the guest here, and his name is Alastair Greene. And man, I'll tell you what, this brother has a lot to pour out into you. Hey, Alastair, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. And you were close on some of those things as far as where I was born and where I live.
Oh, okay. How close?
You were close. My dad was born in New York City.
Oh, okay.
And I was born in Santa Barbara, which is north of LA, and that's where I was for a large portion of my life. And you mentioned Chris Duarte. I know Chris because I just moved to Austin in the beginning of this year. Uh-huh. And that's where I met Chris. And so I think that's how the Chris Duarte connection happened. Chris and I met about a month or so ago. I went to go see one of his shows and got my face blown off by his amazing guitar playing. And I've been in Austin for about 7 or 8 months, but I am right now currently back in Southern California visiting family. And it's an honor to be on your show, sir. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, this is all my joy and pleasure. I'm trying to be an informative podcast where so people can get to know who you are and who the musicians are out there in the world. Mm-hmm. And you speak of Chris Duarte. What a wonderful brother. I mean, I saw him years ago levitate on the stage like he was Jimi Hendrix or something. I mean, the guy is just monster on the guitar. He's just like yourself, brother. Wow. I mean, you're running a good crowd. So tell me a little bit what you're up to right now. I mean, what's on your agenda for your playing throughout the rest of the year?
Well, right now I just got done performing in Las Vegas for at a multiple day festival called the Big Blues Bender, mm-hmm. which is one of the biggest blues festivals in the world. It's 4 or 5 days, and I performed on my own under my name with actually Tab Benoit was playing drums for me, and his bass player Corey played bass. That's the band from my record, The New World Blues, that came out on Tab's label a year and a half ago. And I also play in a band called the Bender Brass, which backs up a bunch of artists that come to the festival, and we perform their songs with them and add, horn parts and stuff. And Jimmy Hall was there again this year, who's a legendary character in and of himself. And right now I'm visiting some family, and I'm going to be going back to Austin in a little bit. I've got a festival coming up at the end of the month in Chicago. And then I'm going to be going to Europe for a couple of weeks to open some shows for Walter Trout. And then I've got a couple other things happening at the end of the year, and I'm going to start writing for my next record. Over the holidays when things slow down, I'm going to do some, let's get back in the studio and demo some songs and get the songs for a new record together. So, and then we're going to tackle 2023 as it comes. So that's kind of what I've got on my plate for the immediate future.
No, that sounds pretty busy to me. I gotta mention something too that I kind of have a semi friend that not a semi friend. I mean, when I was around in Lake Ozark there in Missouri, I got to Chubby Carrier would come through, and I got to hang around with those guys. In fact, they put my wife and I in a van, and we traveled with them for a little bit. It was quite fun. But there's a character that was in that van. He liked to talk about fishing boats a lot. And I think you probably already know who I'm talking about right away. It's probably Corey Dubachaw.
Duplachet, yeah, Corey.
Duplachet.
That's Tab's bass player, and that's the bass player on my record. Yeah, Corey's big into fishing, and yeah, he played with Chubby for a long time. He was in Chubby's band for, I want to say, a decade at least, and traveled all over with Chubby.
Oh man, I tell you, he was a great guy. I used to build guitars, and I had a CNC, and I was building all these things, and he came in, and we were talking about building him a bass for a while, and it kind of petered out because he got really busy doing other things, and but it was just really cool to meet the guy. I mean, the guy was fantastic to hang out with. He hung out with me half a day, just about, watched me, build some Telecasters and stuff like that. So it was kind of fun. Anyway, was he in Las Vegas with you also?
Yeah, so he was performing with Tab, and then when I've gone out and opened shows for Tab, because Tab's a fabulous drummer, and he played drums on my record. When I go out on tour with him, he plays drums for me as the opening act, and Corey plays bass. Corey also played bass on my record, and it's a lot of fun, man. Yeah, so Corey was out in Vegas, and I just saw those guys out here in California, and went to a show a couple nights ago and sat in with them, and it's a great crew, man. Great bunch of people.
I had no idea that Tab played drums until I read it on your bio, and I was like,
"Yeah,
what? Huh? That monster guitar player all of a sudden turns into a monster, drummer."
He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys, man. Multi-talented.
I did meet his brother when he was out on the road for a little while, and that was quite some fun. So you're busy. You're going to go back into recording towards the end of the year? Then do you actually travel to Whiskey Bayou Records?
That's where I made my last record. Like I said, we're trying to figure out 2023 right now. So, but I did make my last record with Tab at his studio, at his place outside of New Orleans last time, Whiskey Bayou Studios.
Of all the, I like to ask everybody this. I know it's just simple and it's kind of a dumb question, but not really. People like to know about stuff like this. So, who is like your favorite guy to get on stage with and just it just blows your mind? You have so much fun. Is that Tab?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question, actually. I mean, I when I was on tour with Tab, obviously getting up at the end of the night and doing the encore with him was a lot of fun. We played Night Train for the encore. So Tab's definitely at the top of that list. And like I said, I was just out in Las Vegas, and Jimmy Hall's got to be towards the top of that list too. Jimmy Hall's an amazing performer, inspiring musician, and getting to see him work is quite something. And it's very special. There's guys like that, and you get up on stage and you just really are grateful and appreciate that you're able to hang,
Oh man, that's really cool. So, I mean, there's another accolade that's under your name too. This is really cool, I think, anyway, because I really like the band. Sugar Ray Rayford, you got Band of the Year that year. And what year was that?
We got Band of the Year from Blues Blast magazine, and I believe that was 2019. I toured with him for a year. He had just put out a record called. What was this record called? I think it was called, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's not his most recent. It's his second most recent record. I went out on tour with him, and I did about a year with him all over the States and Europe. And yeah, if you had given me my top 5 people that I've been on stage with, in the last few years, he would definitely be in there, man. He is a force of nature. He's an incredible performer, incredible singer. Incredible entertainer, and the music was a lot of fun. The band, it's a great band. I was really stoked to be able to put in a year with him before I moved on to making the solo record with Tab and stuff. And Sugar Ray's an amazing performer. And if you haven't seen his show, I would highly recommend it.
Pretty down to earth cat too. I mean, he seems.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, there's no way to go. And to mention some other accolades there, I noticed that you got your name is thrown in with people like Coco Montoya, and
yeah, I know Coco. Yeah, they're all California people.
And John Mayall.
I've opened for John a couple times, and I'm friends with a lot of people that have played in his band and stuff like that, like Walter Trout. I'm friends with him, and he was in Mayall's band for a little bit, and I'm friends with Debbie Davies, and she used to tour opening for John and whatnot, and Carolyn Wonderland, who played guitar in his band recently. She lives in Austin, Texas, and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if obviously a lot of people have gone through Mayall's band. I've opened for him a few times over the years as well, and he's obviously one of the great legends of blues, to be sure.
Oh yeah, last time I saw him was at the Riverfront there in Portland, Riverfront thing. They were on. He was on with Kinsey Report was on a different stage. It was straight across from him, just about, and Kinsey Report tore down the house that night. And John Mayall, he's always packing really great guitar players like yourself. I mean, he's always got a group of guys around him.
Well, I haven't gotten the chance to play with him, but if that's definitely on my bucket list, if that were to ever happen, I'd be super stoked.
Oh man, don't worry, you make him sound good. I know that for sure, and I can say that because I'm on the outside looking in.
Right.
So anyway, I noticed that there's a few other things that we could talk about. Like I said, I was trying to do quite a bit of homework when I knew you were coming on my show, and I do this for everybody, like Chris Duarte. That was another one. I don't know if do you know like Wendy Wu over in Denver, Colorado?
I do not. I can't say that I do.
And Kevin Self from Portland. Well, I got them coming up here in a couple weeks. And Kevin's a great guy, man. I had a great interview with him, I don't know, about 6 months ago. God, and I just can't wait to get him back on again. He's just one of those.
Yeah, Kevin's a good dude. I know Kevin a little bit. He's a great guy.
He's been around, that's for sure. I mean, a lot of those guys over there in Portland, they're really trying to make a move. Here I see you have are you still endorsed by Hughes and Kettner amplifiers?
I was using their stuff mostly. I mean, I don't know if you were going to get to this or not, but I'll just go ahead and go there for you. As I was using their stuff when I was the touring guitar player for Alan Parsons,
okay. Right.
2010 to 2017. And I still love those guys. I still have some of their amps. They made an amp that I was using that worked really well in that context back then. That was a multi-channel amplifier, and I'm actually hoping to see some of those guys at some point again over in Germany. They're still all friends of mine, and they're a great company, man. They make great stuff.
Oh man, I tell you, I've used their stuff a lot. I'm like a Mesa Boogie Mark I kind of guy. I like that a lot, and so, but I'm not a big pedal guy either, So I mean, it's like I love to talk about amplifiers. I did have the H&K. They had a little 18 water that was, oh man, that thing had 3 channels in it, and the clean was like super vibrant clean. It was it gave you the jangle that you look for in your guitar and stuff, and that was kind of
the amp I used to use with them was called the Tubemeister, and it was a 3-channel amp. And recently I've been using, since I've been, on Tab's label and touring with him, I've been using some amps made by a company called Category 5 out of Dallas, and they make all kinds of amplifiers, anything you need or want. I mean, Warren Haynes uses their stuff, and there's Joe Bonamassa signature model, and Samantha Fish uses their amps, and Tab Benoit uses their amps. It's a great company. It's very small and boutique, but it's it's some of the best sounding stuff that you'll ever hear in your life. I mean, they do everything in house, point to point wiring. There's one guy that builds the amps, and they test them right there in Dallas, Texas, and they're great people and really support their artists. I can't say enough good things about them. It's it's pretty much anything that you want, from any sort of vintage Fendery sound to Marshall stuff, and then with their own unique twist and cool little buttons here and there. But it's pretty simple stuff, to be sure. And it's been a real pleasure playing their stuff for like the last year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, it's great. Do you actually get to go in and go in and see the guys and see how they do everything? Yeah,
I mean, a little bit. I don't actually see it getting built, but I've been there when we put some different components in amps, or swapped out some tubes, put the electronics in a new chassis and stuff. But I'm actually pretty uninformed when it comes to how all that stuff gets made and what speakers sound like what and everything. I'm definitely more of a guy that just plays the stuff and likes what when I hear something that I like, I know what it is, but I don't know how that happens. You know what I mean? So I barely work on my own guitars. I can string them and intonate them a little bit, but that's about it.
Oh, that's but that's cool. That's an honor that you get to be in that position. I've never been in that position, so that's got to be a wonderful thing. I mean, it's like an amplifier. People, when they stop and they do not realize that basically an electric guitar is metal to bone, basically. I mean, the rest that's in between. I know that mahogany on the back and maple on the top, and I know that there's certain woods that go together that make a sound that a guy's looking for. And when you mention Warren Haynes, I've been out to see him a bunch of times, and I'm just amazed at his prowess on being able to generate so much energy. And you have the same thing going, man. I mean, I'm going to compliment you on that, dude. These last couple of days, just listening to you, getting ready for this show here, I've been listening to your stuff, and it's like, man, he's got that grunt, he's got the growl, he's got everything going. Yeah. And then you let the fingers fly, and it's like, man, I mean, it's like my brain can't even wrap around moving.
Man, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words. Well, I mean, early Government Mule was definitely a big inspiration to me, and Warren's playing in the Allman when Warren was in the Allman Brothers early on, in the early to mid 90s. It was definitely a big influence on me, and the first couple records by Government Mule were definitely very inspiring for me as far as wanting to do a power trio and do blues rock. I mean, my band is much more of a blues based thing than, I mean, Government Mule goes all over the place musically. I mean, I know they just did a blues record. Their blues record's fantastic, but leading up to that, I mean, they were all over the place. Southern rock, classic rock, some progressive stuff in there, and whatnot. And I've got massive amounts of respect for what Warren's accomplished in his career. That guy just keeps going, keeps making great music, and he set the bar so high for everybody playing, blues rock and southern rock, and he's a legend in his own lifetime, man. There's no doubt.
You know what I found cool about you is you mentioned guitar picks and the guitar picks that you own. You've got some prominent players there. What was really good is I really liked Steve Morse, and when I remember going out to see him a couple times with the Dixie Dregs, and that was, what a monster. I mean, he just sits up there so casually and just tears a guitar up.
Yeah, man. Steve's an incredible player. He's a great guy. I got to know him a little bit when I was playing with Alan Parsons. We opened a few shows for Deep Purple, one in Canada and a couple in Germany, and I got to know his tech, Tommy, and a couple of the other guys. And so I got to, spend a little bit of time with Steve, and I've since then seen Steve at a couple of NAMM shows and gone out to see him play with the Dregs. Wow. he's a phenomenal guitar player. I mean, that guy's obviously another legend in his own lifetime,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's a great guy. I mean, he's really been working hard for a long time. Just keeping like the highest level of quality as far as his songwriting, his guitar playing, and I really thought he brought a really great thing to Deep Purple for so many years. And I don't have enough good things to say about that guy. He's fantastic.
I think one of the greatest things he said. I had a great tutor by the name of Ben Benet. He was like on the first Beach Boys album. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Studio musician, actually down in L.A. area, and he was one to train me. He's gone now. I mean, he's went into the next life. But the thing that Steve Moore says, listen, find your own voice. There are no rules as far as finding your own voice. And like I said, this is kind of an informative broadcast along with, finding out about you. So those are the kind of things we inform you, and I talk about that a lot is once you start to play a guitar, find out, it's one thing to be able to copy Eric Clapton lick for lick, but it's another thing when you're saying it like you would say it as a person, I mean, and I really believe that you do that automatically. I really don't hear you copying a lot of, I don't hear you copying anybody. It sounds like,
well, then you're just another one of the people that I've fooled over all these years then. Because every time I play, more often than not, I can always kind of go, I got that lick from Jimmy Page, and I got that one from B.B. King, and I got that one from Duane Allman, and I got that one from Albert Collins. But I thank you, man. No, that's obviously a great compliment to receive if someone thinks that you've achieved that with your guitar playing, that you have your own unique voice. And I was doing the math the other day, and I think I've been playing guitar for 36 years or something like that at this point. And you put in enough time at something, and you hope that you get good at it and that you are able to create a unique voice on the instrument. And there's tons of great guitar players and in this genre, the blues rock genre. There's a lot of great players, and and everyone has similar influences to an extent. I mean, everyone's going to have a BB King influence or a Albert King influence and whatnot, and so your playing ends up being this combination of all the things that you love, and hopefully by learning all those things, your personality eventually comes out and you create your own voice on the instrument. And if you feel as though I've done that, then I thank you, sir. That is the highest compliment I think I could get. So,
well, like I said, I've been preparing for the show, and and I'm not just trying to brown nose you either. I'm actually saying,
it's all good, man.
Yeah, I'm saying this because, I mean, people don't realize we're all a conglomerate. There's no music that hasn't been made on earth. I mean, from Bach to Beethoven to Coltrane to Miles Davis to, B.B. King to, it goes on. Robert Johnson. We can go on and name and name and name and name. And it's really something like I listened to Justin Johnson on a slide guitar, and the guy's it's wonderful. But even he says, I'm a conglomerate, man. I got that off of here. I got this off of there. And piece by piece, you piece all this together that makes up who Alastair is, and makes you who you are as the musician that you became. And it's just really cool that you've moved up on in the levels, I mean, and there's another thing that folks don't realize about the blues, that is like you work your way, you might even start on the street, or you might start in a little hairy bar with, it's just a meat market kind of situation. And the smoke's up in the air, and it's like dingy, and that you might get your start there. And then all of a sudden the next level is that you start playing like for wineries, or you start playing for, and there's like a stair step to get up on the big stage. Am I right? I mean, is it kind of like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it, especially with different kinds of music. I mean, you take every gig that you can until you don't have to. And yeah, we all start in the bars, and we all start in, little clubs and bars here and there and stuff. And still play bar. I mean, I still go and play bars and stuff like that. I mean, I think that the blues circuit as it is contains all kinds of venues and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I've gotten to play on some very big stages all around the world, but I've also, kept one foot in reality, as I like to say. And I still play, bar gigs and stuff. I just want, to play my guitar and make a living doing it. And in order to do so, you continue to play whatever gigs present themselves. And, yeah, man, we all get our start somewhere. And with the blues, it tends to be, in the bedroom, and then the garage, and then, maybe a studio, and then a bar, and then it goes from there. So.
Oh man. Yeah. We all go down that road, whether we want to or not. If you're gonna play live music, folks, if you are a student out there listening to this podcast, when someone talks about playing, an instrument, they're talking, like, it's not just to play. It's actually for these guys, that are up and going around people like Tad Benoit and hanging out with them like Alastair Greene has. Then, they paid their dues to get there. They did step by step. Not only that, they weren't mean along the way. Somewhere they were kind and generous and loved on certain people at the right times and said all the right things, and just didn't become this jerk guitar player, like some people learn how to play the guitar and they think they're God once they get there, and it has nothing to do with God, has nothing to do with anything like that. It has to do with the talent you put out there. But what I'm saying is it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of tenacity and being at the right place at the right time, saying the right things, doing the right things, all in one big show, and Alastair's done that, man. I mean, obviously he's getting to hang out. Still working on it. Yeah, man. It's just there's no real shortcuts. The shortcuts exist occasionally if someone gets discovered young and gets a bunch of money put in their career or whatever. But for the most part, with roots music and rock and roll and stuff like that, it's a long process of dues paying and playing thousands of gigs and in small clubs and small bars, and trying to drive around and spread the word and travel and stuff. And you got to do it because you love it. It's definitely a labor of love. And yeah, all the guys you see out there for the most part, doing this on tour and in the blues world and rock world and southern rock world or whatever, those are all people that have worked really hard at it and maintained, a level of integrity and are nice to people. And, there's not a lot of room for people that aren't treating each other with respect. I mean, they're out there, and there are successful people that got successful and maybe are a little not easy to deal with, or have some personality things here and there. But for the most part, all the guys that I come across out there are all good people, and they've all worked hard. Do you feel blessed to get to do what you do?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's a blessing in so many ways, but it's also, it continues to be difficult. I mean, we had a year and a half, taken away from touring and making music. And, it's been a little rougher on some than others, getting back out there and getting started, keeping moving forward. I definitely feel blessed, but, I still have to get up every day and work hard. And I by no means feel as though I've made it, whatever that means. I still have to work hard and keep an eye on things and try and, book gigs and keep making good music. Cause, until you're the Rolling Stones or Paul McCartney or the Foo Fighters, you gotta, and even those guys still put in time and energy and work. And just because they've got however many figures in the bank, they still love what they're doing and they still go out and work, so it's kind of a never ending thing, but yeah, I mean, I definitely do feel very blessed to have been able to do as much as I have in my life, playing guitar and playing music, and that I'm still in it, man. I still in the game.
Yep, you sure are. Tell me something about the years that you spent with Alan Parsons. I know you. I know you kind of wanted me to get around to this. So I finally am, and so I thought I would ask you that question. You know, I mean, wow, that had to be a blessing. Talk to me about Alan Parsons and the gig you had there. God, that's great.
Well, you know, it was a great opportunity for me to see the world and play guitar at a high level with great musicians and play big shows and play hit songs. You know, I didn't really grow up listening to that. I knew a couple of the songs from the radio, but I wouldn't have considered myself a fan. I was aware of the Alan Parsons Project.
Uh-huh.
And you know, Alan, you know, was an engineer, a studio engineer at Abbey Road, and he worked on he was the engineer for Dark Side of the Moon, and he worked on a couple of Beatles records. And then but the Alan Parsons Project, you know, he was the producer of that. The songwriter who wrote most of the songs, his name was Eric Wolfson. And then they brought in a lot of studio musicians to sing and play on all those songs. And so it was definitely challenging for me in that, you know, those songs were very much, you know, put together with a lot of attention to detail. Mm-hmm. The solos, you know, I had to learn the solos almost note for note most of the time. And the guy that played on those records, most of the songs, Ian Berenson, was a fantastic guitar player, but definitely was coming from a very different place than I was. So learning his solos and his touch was pretty challenging for me. So I learned a lot, you know, and I learned how to approach different things musically. And then, you know, I learned how to go on tour and, you know, survive out on tour with a bunch of different characters. Uh-huh. You know, I mean, it was all, you know, guys that were hired to do the job. You know, there's three ways that you can make a living performing music. And one is you can be a hired gun, which that was, where you're hired along with other people to go perform somebody's music. Right. You can be in a band with your friends, or you can become part of a band that's kind of more of an all for one, one for all thing. Or you can be a band leader, and if you're a band leader, then you typically have to hire the hired guns to go out and play your music. And I've done all of those things. So that was the high level. That was a high level hired gun situation. And I've been in bands, and I'm also a band leader. And so in each one of those situations, you learn something about what it is to be a hired gun, but also as a band leader, one of the things that I took away from that too is how I wanted to or wouldn't want to treat people in my employ. So you learn do's and don'ts. I learned plenty of ways like, okay, that's how I want to treat people. And then I also learned, well, that's not how I want to treat people. So you learn different things in these different positions that you have as a musician. And, you know, it was great, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world. The only thing about playing with Alan that I could say that might be a little detrimental would be that I wasn't touring with my band doing my music as much during that time. And so while if I had been touring, say like in the Black Crowes, it probably would translate a little bit more to my solo career, but Alan Parsons and blues rock don't have anything to really do with each other. So so I spent, you know, so the blues world, there's, you know, Tab Benoit actually was an Alan Parsons Project fan. So he and I hit it off, and that meant something to him. Whereas a lot of blues and blues rock fans aren't maybe familiar with Alan, or maybe they're not even fans of that music. And I love all kinds of music. I love, you know, Alan Parsons Project, and you mentioned Miles Davis and John Coltrane and classical music. And I love fusion. We talked about Steve Morse, and I love all kinds of stuff. But sometimes fans of specific genres can have a little bit of a narrow view of what the music is that they like, and that's fine. I mean, I've gone through phases where I didn't want to hear anything except for Muddy Waters for, you know, periods of time. So that was one thing that, you know, if I'd been, you know, doing my thing during that time, I'd probably, you know, maybe be a little further along in the solo career. However, you know, I wouldn't trade that experience, because I did get to, you know, play, you know, arenas, and I did get to play big shows and open up for Deep Purple and meet all these people and see, you know, that side of the music business that honestly not a lot of people get to do. Not a lot of people get to have somebody set up their equipment and break it down and, you know, all that kind of stuff and whatnot. So, I mean, while it wasn't necessarily, like I said, being in the Beatles or the Stones or being a member of the Foo Fighters, it was definitely a step up or two or three from playing bars every night. So
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Well, and plus the growth, you got to watch it all form, and how you could shape your own career. Seems like that would be a huge thing to do. To be a part of. It's kind of like going to the college of colleges. To the
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about the my experience playing that music and everything. And like I said, I learned a lot of do's and don'ts. I learned a lot of good musical things and some ways of approaching music and some cool chords and chord program. I mean, there's a lot in that music to, if you're paying attention, to learn. And I want to be a student until the day that I stop playing music. There's always something to learn, and that was definitely a great learning experience for me.
Yeah, if you're going to be a gold miner, you're going to have to dig.
Yep, absolutely.
Whether you like it or not, you're going to get dirty one way or another. You got to dig, you got to work. And I appreciate those words. I mean, people listening, I know would grab onto them. And I would like to, I'm gonna go ahead and transition into, I'd like to play one of your songs, Big Bad Wolf live on his 805 album. And, man, I tell you what, this, I love this stuff, man. It's like, I want to go surfing again. I mean, here I am in North Central Kansas, and I sit here and dream of Rincon or El Capitan out there where you used to live there in Santa Barbara. Yeah,
man, for sure.
Here we go, taking off.
Someone that can help and make
Oh my, oh my. I tell you what, the big bad wolf was eating it up on the guitar, that's for sure. Oh my God, Alistair, that was freaking amazing, man. I mean, it's like, I often wonder about this, I do with the high energy that's going on inside of a song like that, that you wrote. And got all this energy, got all those people out there rocking with you. I mean, does that take a toll on you after a little bit? Do you feel tired after? I mean, at the end of the show, you walk off stage, you go, I'm just.
Yeah, man. I think if you're doing a good job, you're going to be tired after a show. Absolutely. It's you want to put it out there and give people their money's worth and entertain them and give them as much as you got. And that's a lesson that I've learned, from, Sugar Ray Rayford or Tab Benoit, that's what you do when people are coming out to see you play and they're, paying the cover or paying the ticket and you got to put it out, man. And you're exerting yourself and but that's what it's about, man. It's about that energy that you put out and the crowd picks up on and gives back to you. I mean, people talk about that all the time, the energy exchange between the band and the artist. And yeah, man, I mean, that's one of my probably more favorite songs of mine that I've written. That's definitely got more of the classic rock ZZ Top thing in it. I mean, it's definitely blues. Yeah. It's definitely blues based, but yeah, it's an actual, kind of more of a rock song than a blues song. But yeah, man, that's definitely you picked a good one, man. So
but I mean, it's like also it shows off your amplifier and the tone you get, because we were talking a little bit about Warren Haynes kind of tone, man. Yeah. It was definitely in that. I could definitely tell that was going that way. But brother, that was a ripping, heart ripping song, and I did hear interviews like with Jimi Hendrix. I saw Jimi Hendrix like 7 times in my life. So I was a real blessed kid. I was a real blessed kid, to be able to go to those shows. In fact, I was in high school and one was before I was in high school. But, at those shows, one of the things he said is that, the hardest part for him was that he had, you got all these 20,000 people out there just giving you their all, just like you're giving them your all. And it's like he says, it's just this huge energy clash that happens, and you go backstage and all of a sudden it's quiet. And I bet you guys like yourself, you just seem like one of those guys, and I'm just gonna read into it a little bit if you don't mind. But it's like you're one of those guys I could tell looks forward to the next time that's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I love playing, and you want to be in the moment, of course. And when you're in that moment, that's all there is the music and the gig. And then when it's over, you want to rest a little bit, but yeah, you want to get back out and do it again because it's so much fun, man. I'm very, like I said, we go back to feeling blessed, and yeah, I feel blessed that I'm able to do it, and I want to do it as long as I can.
Where do you have a favorite place that you like to play? I mean, it's like magic when you walk in the door and you smell the air in there, and it's like you just walk in there and you just like, man, and your guitar
that's a good question.
And your guitar acts like it's hungry, it's just like,
that's a good question, man. I've as far as playing with my band or playing my music, there's probably a handful of places. There's a place in the San Jose area called the Poorhouse Bistro. There's actually a song on my latest record I did with Tab called Back at the Poorhouse, kind of in tribute to that venue. That's just it's a small club, that serves New Orleans, style Cajun food and stuff, and they've got a couple different stages there, and it's just I've always looked forward to going there. I've played there countless times, and that's a great place to play. And I'm sure there's some others. I mean, last year I got to play, or maybe it was 2 years ago, I'm kind of losing track, but I got to play Knuckleheads in Kansas City like 3 times in 3 months with 3 different projects, and I came back the next year and played there again with Tab. That's a really cool place. That's got 4 different stages on it. I think I've been on all the 4 of those stages at some point, and that's another great place. And man, I mean, there's there's lots of great places all over the place, and I'm looking forward to getting back to all of them.
Yeah, Yeah, I happen to have played Knuckleheads a bunch of times in my life, and I mean, what Frank's done with the place, man, he sets it up for musicians to just have a good time. It'd be like the difference. Like I grew up in Pomona, California, and so I was kind of in between where the L.A. Forum was. I had a Hollywood Bowl, and then I had. My favorite place was the Swing Auditorium out in San Bernardino. And that spot, for some reasons, it'd be like you could hear Steven steal some Manassas the night before at the Forum and follow him out to, and then end up at the Swing Auditorium. And man, it just seems like, God, it's like they just lit up the next night. You could tell the energy just changed. Hendrix was that way too. He played for like an hour and a half over time. I mean, we were supposed to quit at 12. He didn't quit until 1:30 in the morning. It's just like he was playing everything and anything he could think of that night. It was just one of those places. I guess that's why I asked that question. It's kind of like,
yeah, totally.
I mean, I have my spots, and I'd rather play for 10 people having a meal, just watching and listening to everything I'm doing than the 20,000 that I played for the Tom Joyner show. I mean, it's like I just like that intimacy a lot better. Man, I tell you what, you are one blessing to have on the show. I'm so
thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
I am so glad you took time. And I tell you, brother, people like you make the world go round. We can't live without music.
Thanks.
Thanks,
man.
Us human beings can't live without music, and us human beings also can't live with great musicians. And whether you become the most famous Rolling Stone guy in the world or whether you are like you are, I hope you just stay like you are, brother, because, man, I tell you what, this world just needs love. We need to be together no matter what, we need to treat each other kind. We need to treat each other right, and that's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate you reaching out and getting a hold of me, and thank Chris Duarte for connecting us, and that's great, man. I'm grateful that we took the time to do this. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank your publicist too. I mean, that was really cool of her to to take on this kind of a thing, because I'm not a giant podcast yet. I'm on my way, but I mean, it's not giant yet. And guys like you really help little guys like me out,
Shoot.
So, you get, I mean, it's like I get more out of it probably than you, but it's really, no, man, not really true. I think we all need each other, and that's the way the world's going to go. And I'm going to end it with that. And once again, my brother, Alastair Greene, man, I tell you what, I know we only got one song and I couldn't help it because we had so much to talk about. But
yeah, brother.
It's been a great time, and I'm going to end it with this little tune I did with a band back in '95. Folks, this is Howlin' Steve Howell. You've been on birdpossumrecords.com with us in this podcast. There's so many podcasts now we've got booked there at the site. You can go to birdpossumrecords.com site, and hopefully you'll stop by there and enjoy. I'm going to leave you with one word, like I was starting to get into. Be kind to one another. When you get in your car, that's probably the worst place in the world to become self-centered. And it's the only place in the world that we can actually just let go and help each other drive. Help each other. There'll be a lot less wrecks. Yeah, I won't have all that anger, and a lot of different stuff will start to end if you do that. So I'm just saying, be kind to one another. And listen, I can't wait to do another podcast with Alastair Greene. I can't thank him enough for being with us. What a fantastic career this man is having. Go listen to his music. Yep, go to Spotify. Look it up. That's right. It's spelled Alastair. Greene. Man, do it. You can't go bad. Not only that, if he's playing in your area, man, pay that ticket price. Get out there and support this man. He's great. He deserves it. Anyway, folks, we'll see you later. You've been hanging with the band with Howell and Steve Howell. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.